Hello, everybody. I think we're live. And yes, I think we are good to go. How are you, everyone? Andre here again for a Saturday masterclass. As you guys know, if you're new here, actually, every Saturday at 6:30 Central European Time, which is 12:30 if you're in New York, and 9:30 in the morning if you're in LA, or those time zones. Then you kind of have to figure out according to your area. But every Saturday we do a live masterclass where I usually pick the topic, sometimes from your comments and your chats, in the live chat here, and sometimes I just make one up, and I think will be useful. And we have a live masterclass, so I talk for about 30, 45 minutes, and then on a certain topic, and then we go on to questions. And usually we answer those questions right away, but sometimes we save them for a future masterclass. So if you're new here, welcome. This is in case you're watching this later. And please do subscribe. We have a weekly masterclass, and then every Tuesday I put up a video. So it should be pretty interesting. And I was actually writing demos for my new record. And because I didn't think I was going to make a record, but then, with the virus thing and everything, I ended up writing a bunch of songs. And so hopefully, oh, hello, everybody. You're starting to come in. So hopefully, maybe next year, 2021, we could do a new record. I know it's not been long, just a few months since Mystic Electric was released. But, this virus thing, I was home or in the studio all day, so I wrote a bunch of songs, and maybe you guys want to hear them. All right. So, hello, Alex. That is Art. Hello, how are you? So yeah, as we wait for more people to come in, we'll just do a bit of housekeeping. So today's masterclass is going to be pretty straightforward. We did one last week about the cage system, which went from very simple to quite advanced. And you guys were great. Everybody hang on in there. And, we got some great comments afterwards. So today's masterclass is going to be a little bit more relaxed, but also quite interesting. And it's about the modes, the major modes of the diatonic scale. The diatonic scale is basically your major scale, but any scale that has half steps and whole steps separated in the same way that a major scale has them. So, for example, if the major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, any computation of those, so starting wherever you want on that line, will get you a diatonic scale. So today we're only going to talk about the three main diatonic modes, which are Ionian, which is your basic major scale, and then we'll talk about Lydian and Mixolydian. Okay, just three scales. It's pretty easy. Compared to the last couple of masterclasses, this is a piece of cake. And wait, let me just zoom in a little bit. By the way, zoom in for me means actually moving the camera forward. That's the extent of my camera skills. All right. Yeah, the diatonic modes are extremely simple because basically they are a major scale, but seen as starting from a different note. They're all included in this octave or in this scale, but then you start from a different. We'll get to it right away. But the idea is that there are other major modes. So I don't want you, if you're new to this, I don't want you to be confused by the lack of these modes in today's masterclass, because there are major modes which we can consider basically major scales, and these modes come from all kinds of different scales. So there are modes of the harmonic and melodic minor scale, for example, that could be considered major. And so those are not going to be explained today. Okay, we're just going to focus on the three major modes of the diatonic scale. So let's see. So there's a few more coming in. So I'm just going to get started. So for the benefit of those who are watching later, so you don't have to wait around. If you come in late, feel free to ask questions, and we might go over these things again later. Okay, so the modes are, again, they can be seen in two ways, as relative modes and parallel modes. The relative mode is the easiest way to do it. And it's not bad. I mean, I wouldn't suggest anybody learns them as the only way of learning the modes as relative scales, but it's very interesting in the beginning because you can get people who are not advanced, so they don't have a lot of theory knowledge. You can get them introduced to the modes quite easily, right? So the basic idea is this. If I have a major scale, we do it in C major is the easiest. C major is basically all the natural notes or the white keys on your piano. So if I play a major scale in C, can you hear the guitar? Is it too low? can bring it up a little bit. Okay, right? Sorry. This is the 2 octaves of C major, so I go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B twice. Now, this scale, these notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, if I consider them as starting from the C, they come arranged in a certain order that gives me a C major scale. So for example, if I play whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, that's a major scale. So if I play all the natural notes starting from C, that's what I get. I get a series of notes that agrees with the formula for the major scale, right? Very easy. So it's whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now, I can take these 7 notes and basically start a scale on each of them. Okay, that's the relative scale. So the relative scale is this. I have C major, and I say, wait, why do I have to start on C? Why don't I start from the second note, which is D? And you could do that. You could start from D and play, careful, you play exactly the same notes as in C major. You don't play D major, you don't play D minor, you play the same notes as C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, but you start from D. So your scale sounds like this, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now it sounds extremely different from this. The reason that it sounds so different is that it's basically a minor scale, a kind of minor scale. So the shift in perspective as to what number 1 is shuffles all the intervals. And so instead of having whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, we have whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. So it's a different scale. And we can do this with every single note of the scale. So there's going to be a a scale that starts on the 3rd note, which is E. C, D, E, F, G, A, B becomes E, F, G, A, B, C, D. That's a scale that starts from E, and it sounds very interesting. It sounds so different from C major, but I'm still playing only the notes of C major. But my point of view as to what the root is and the tonic is and what note is the basis for every other note to compare to, then it shifts to E. Okay, so we can do this with every single mode and with every single note of the scale. Hello, Indrajit. Hello, everybody. Indrajit, I got your other donation again. It's too much. It's too much. But thanks again. Thanks. And once in a while, I'll stop by and say hello. But, you know, so as not to get carried too much away, I'll keep going with the scales. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Okay, so I could start this major scale in all the other degrees. I can start one on F, I can start one on G, I can start one on A, I can start one on B, and that's it. That's 7 scales. So basically, out of my 7 notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, I actually get 7 new scales. C major, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, and then A minor, and B Locrian. Okay, so it's 7 scales, very different from each other. Now, the problem with seeing, you might be wondering, so what's the problem? It's easy, right? You take a major scale, start from a different degree, and you got the modes. The problem with this is that every note, every scale that you find, if you always look at it as if it were a major scale starting from somewhere else, you're always tied to getting back to that note or to that major scale that it's the parent of the mode to figure out what you have to do, right? So that's really hard to do, you know, because it's easy to think, well, okay, D Dorian is C major, but how about if you want to play B flat Lydian? What are you going to do? You're going to find the major scale that's the right scale to have B flat as the 4th note and then start Lydian from the, you know, the song is already over, or the improvisation or the band has already kicked you off stage. So I made a little video a while ago about the importance of seeing every mode as its own scale. Okay, so this is the first concept, that relative scales and the relative studies of modes can be useful and can be a good introduction to modes, but you shouldn't count on it too much. Okay, so on this first subject, if you have questions or comments, please let me know in the chat. Okay, but we're going to abandon for today, we're going to abandon the relative style of looking at modes, and we're going to look at where it's at. which is the parallel modes. Now, parallel modes are different. Parallel modes say, okay, well, I studied my C major scale and major scales in general, and I learned the formula. So I learned my whole step, half step, that formula. And I go, okay, so now I can basically figure out, if I know my circle of fifth, for example, I can figure out all my modes everywhere on the neck, and in every key I can play D major, I can play F major, I can play all modes, all the major scales. And then I wonder, how should I modify this major scale? Not go look for another one, but this same major scale, like C major. How can I modify this scale to get a Lydian scale, or a Dorian scale, or a Mixolydian scale, or a minor scale? Okay, that's the big thing and the big difference. Let me just close the door a little, 1 second. Okay, should make the video sound better. All right, so that's the main thing, okay? So parallel modes is where it's at, and what we're going to focus on today. The first mode is actually called Ionian, and it's a major scale. It's that easy. So the major scale, it's already, if you're new to modes, you already know one. It's the Ionian mode. And it's based on the formula whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Okay? So basically, that's what it looks like on the guitar, but on the piano, you can just play the white keys starting from C and you get your major scale. Now, we're going to give this basic major scale in any key, of course, but we're going to do it in C to keep everything as easy as possible. We're going to give this major scale a formula in numbers, and it's going to be very easy. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So when you see this formula, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it means you're playing a straight major scale. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 means whole step, half step, whole step, half step. And in C major, it means C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, if you don't do anything to any of these notes, that's what you get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the root. Okay? Okay. If we decide to change any of these notes, then we will have to modify one of the degrees of the scale. And today's modes we're going to look at is going to be very easy, extremely easy. We're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're only going to move one note. For the Lydian mode, we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and modify it to 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. What that means is we go up 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, and for the fourth note, we move it up 1 fret. Which in C major means that instead of playing C, D, E, F, G, A, B, we're playing C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Okay? So this is the major scale. And this is the Lydian scale. Alright? Extremely easy. There are modes that are more complicated. There are more changes brought to the major scale, but not in this case. Do you guys hear any interference? It's kind of driving me crazy. I have this little sound here. Are you guys hearing okay? You think my gain is a bit too high? All right, thanks. Is this on the guitar or in the voice? Because this microphone has a trouble with the iPhone. So please do let me know if it's the voice. I'll just speak lower. I'm having this issue with a few of the videos that I made as well. So let me know. It sounds great. Okay. Just the guitar. Okay, I can bring it down a little bit. All right. Thanks very much. Hello, Jose. Hello, everybody. All right. Voice is perfect. Great. Thanks. About the guitar? Maybe it's a bit too low now. All right. Please do let me know if there's any more problems. Okay? Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. All right. Sorry. So that's my first mode. Don't worry. We're going to review all of this, of course. We're going to get into the modes real bad. Can you play a G major over it as it's got the F sharp? Yes, Indrajit. Actually, that's the thing. That's the thing we're going to look at. We're going to go into each mode now and yeah, we'll get there. If not, you know, I'll get back to it, but we're going to talk about all that. But the second mode we're going to look at today is, again, extremely simple. Extremely simple. We're going to take the C major scale, and instead of raising the fourth note, and Eugenia, hola, and we're going to lower the seventh notes. So it's going to be C, D, E, F, G, A. Seventh note is B. We're going to lower the half step to B flat and C. So it sounds like this. Now, major, Mixolydian with a flat 7. All right, so these are the three modes. Why are they called major modes? Because you can see from the title, it's called the Diatonic Major Modes. Diatonic is because they come from the major scale, right? So that's what we're focusing on today. And the reason they're major is because if you notice, besides the sound kind of gives it away, but really if you look at the shape of the scale, 1, 2, 3, the third never changes. It's always a major third. And the major third is the note that tells you if a chord is major, if a scale is major, you know, everything is kind of based around the third. So if I'm playing a minor scale, the third is minor. If I'm playing a minor chord, the third is minor. If I bring the third up to major, I get a major chord. So that's the same with scales. And if you notice, when I go from major to Lydian, I raise the fourth. When I go from major to Mixolydian, I lower the seventh. So the third never gets touched. It's always major. So we're always inside of a major key. All right, that's the thing. Great. Now, before we continue, please keep in mind, all these videos, I don't know, you know, some of you here do my online coaching as well, but otherwise I can't tell exactly what level you're at. So don't worry about it. If something seems easy, well, you know, you just, no, now you can't, but later you can just keep ahead. And if something gets a bit hard, just, you know, go over it a few times, listen to it, and eventually you'll be ready for it. Okay, don't forget our motto here is that you are your own best teacher, and that means that you'll figure out exactly when you're ready for certain things. All right, so don't stress about it. Just watch it again a few times, and it will all make sense. Besides, keep in mind that this stuff is really pretty simple once you wrap your mind around it. So basically, sometimes it's just repetition. Okay, so let's talk about the first of the major modes, the major scale. Extremely easy. It's maybe the most important scale in the world and in music because a lot of stuff derives from it. What is the actual sound of these scales and where does it come from? The main thing, of course, is that major third, C, D, E. The major third is an important note. And then there's also these two notes, the F and the B. Right? You hear how dissonant they are and how they push towards a certain resolution. Let me just play C, D, E, F for you. You hear that? I can't quite stop here. Kind of asks me to resolve it. And the B is even stronger. Right? You need to hear that note because otherwise you feel like your life is incomplete. And so these two notes, if you notice, the F and the B is where the half steps are. E and F and B and C. Now, keep this in mind because this sounds very simple for a lot of you guys, but keep this in mind because it's of great importance when it comes to the modes. Where the half steps are. E, F, B, and C. All right, that's extremely important. So the notes that make the major mode, the major scale, or the Ionian mode are the E, the F, and the B. Of course, all of them are important, but these three are the ones we're going to focus on. There's not a lot to talk about this mode, really. It's very common. One thing I would suggest is that you're extremely careful with this scale when you improvise or when you write a song with it, because it's so embedded in our ears that it's extremely important that your intonation is spot on. So if you play over a note, any deviation from perfect, you heard that, from perfect intonation becomes unbearable. And I see a lot of people when I go out and see people play live, or students who improvise, I notice how hard it is for them sometimes to properly play the major scale because it doesn't forgive any lack of intonation. So if you sing or play slightly out of tune, which on some scales can become interesting, but in the major scale is unforgivable. And actually, there's a few songs that I have that are in major, and when I play live, people think I'm afraid of, you know, all the crazy stuff. But I'm really scared of playing songs like One or Written in the Sand, you know, songs that are extremely based on the major scale, because you have to be so careful about intonation. So that's a bit of advice for you. Keep it in mind because it's extremely important. So always make sure you're playing right on the note. Okay, no flats, no sharps. I mean, none of that. Tune your guitar. Watch your vibratos. You know, you have to always go back home with the vibrato. Always go back to the key. Extremely important. It's always important. But minor keys, for example, are a lot more forgiving. Okay, so one very important thing about the major scale is what chords you play with them. And that's very important because it's one of the reasons why I think relative scales and relative modes are a bit of an issue, because you understand the mode because you just start from a different key, but you don't really know what to do with it. So it's important to know your harmonizations. And in the major scale, it's very easy. It's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and major. Remember the masterclass on chords and how to make up your own chords? This is, we covered this a little bit. Okay, so if you play these chords, you can actually play over them with your major scale because the major scale is in agreement with the chords you're using. Okay, that's the main thing. All the chords you're using are made up of notes that you encounter in your scale. Okay, some will sound a bit better, some notes will sound a bit worse, but it will always fit the scale. All right, so that's the first thing. Now, there are chords that within them kind of summarize the sound of a certain mode. Okay, and the Ionian mode has a bunch of chords that are usually associated with it. The first one is, of course, C major. If we're in C major, in C Ionian. Of course, this is a major chord made up of C, E, and G. Of course, these notes are included in our major scale, so no issues there. You can play over it. But then there are chords that kind of give you more information, and they help you lock into a certain mode. For example, we said that the Mixolydian mode, which we'll get right to it, so don't worry about it if you don't remember it, but the Mixolydian mode was a major scale with a flat 7. In the case of C, the B is flat, so it's a B flat. Now, if I play C major, that B flat or B doesn't appear because I'm only playing C, E, and G. So I really don't have any problems. I could play either of these modes. But what if I play a C major 7th chord? Beautiful chord. And this chord is made up of C, E, G, and B. Now, this chord is a lot more descriptive than a regular C major because now it has a B. So it's already cutting out one of the modes because I couldn't play. Let me just put it on a pad for you and then you'll see what I mean. I'm just playing now a C major 7th chord. And now I can play C major over it. Watch if I play C Mixolydian what happens. It's not gonna sound pretty. Okay. You see what I mean, right? You see what I mean? The chord is already giving me the sound, or at least part of the sound of the mode. Okay, so what are the chords that usually we associate with C Ionian or C major? C major, of course. C6 is pretty common. It's kind of a common substitution for C. C6-9, of course. C major 7th, of course. C major 9, beautiful chord. These chords work great for C major, and they go kind of from kind of flat sounding, not bad, you know, a bit more ambiguous, to a lot more descriptive. Okay, so these are the three chords of I mean some of the chords that work on C major, but basically you can make up any chord you want as long as it uses only notes from the mode. In the case of C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All right, so in the case of C major, the scale has no sharps and no flats. the chords you use shouldn't have no sharps and no flats. Okay? We're going to move on to Lydian, but first let me check out the chat. Half steps are like cue points. That is true, Jose. That's a good idea. C Mixolydian over C major 7th equal dissonantemente dissonante. Yeah, it sounds like crap. Just, you know, the 7th is a very delicate note. But usually, you know, it's like that. A mode has to agree with the chord that's underneath. We'll get more into the chords at the end, right? We're going to talk about the 3 modes separately, and then I'll look into the chords. So let's move on to the next mode. The next mode is called the 4th mode because the modes appear in this order: Ionian, Dorian, and Phrygian, which are minor, and you can guess they'll be featured in another masterclass. Lydian is the 4th mode. Mixolydian is the 5th mode. Aeolian, which is the minor scale, is also a mode and is the 6th mode. And Locrian is the 7th mode. So the 4th mode is Lydian. Let's check out a formula for this mode because we don't want to talk relative, right? Relative is a Lydian scale is a major scale starting on the 4th note. We don't care about that. You know, you can do that in the very beginning, but we don't want to do that. So we need a formula for this mode. And if the basic major scale formula was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the Lydian scale is extremely simple. As we said, is 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. Which in C major means C, D, E, F, G. I'm sorry, C, D, E, F, sharp, G, A, B. Okay? Now, what does it sound like? Well, it sounds brighter. And if you notice, we have an F that went up to F sharp. And the F, the natural F, sounds a bit weird. And people sometimes don't notice because we're so used to the major scale. But let me just play a C major chord. And I'm going to play the normal major scale. You hear this F, it doesn't sound bad, but it sounds off. It has something going on. Check this out when I raise it a half step to go to Lydian. Before, now. It's extremely consonant to a C major chord. And some people think that Lydian should be the basis, not major, because it gets rid of that tension with the 4th. But anyway, the F sharp is the note. Now, what are the major interesting points of this mode? Well, first of all, there's the major 3rd is still there, as we said, so it's still a major scale. Of course, the 4th is very important because it raised a half step. And now, you hear it doesn't want to go down to E, it wants to go up to G. That's why I told you the half steps are extremely important because your melody will have a certain tendency exemplified by the position of the half steps. You want to go up. The major scale wanted to go down. Doesn't mean you have to go down, but that's what it asks for. And then the major 7th, which also again tends to go up to C. All right, so these are the 3 notes you have to kind of watch out for. And the other notes are the same, you know, of course, as C major, so you don't have to think too much about it. The raised 4th is extremely strong, is a very strong interval, is a tritone, so it's extremely strong. You have to use your ears as to when and how you want to use them. Again, if you want to play this in context with a chord progression, you should know what chords go with the Lydian scale, right? And this is the order of chords if you want to harmonize a C Lydian scale. You play major, major, minor. Did I say it right? Yeah. Diminished, major, minor, and minor. Okay, these are the 7 chords of the Lydian scale. You notice something interesting is that you have 2 major chords, one next to the other. In major, it would sound like this. But in Lydian, lifts it up, right? So it brings you into another direction if you want to continue the chord progression. And so it's important that you know the chords, because if you want to play any Lydian scale, you have to know your formula, right? And then you also have to know what chords to use. And it's major, major, minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, all right? Which again is the same as the chords of a major scale, but starting on the fourth one. Again, are there specific chords for this mode? Well, not many, because the fourth is not really often used in chords to begin with, because of that tension we checked out before. But there are a few. First of all, you can use the Lydian scale over pretty much, basically all of the major chords, because the 11th is not really used. So we can play C major and play Lydian over it. We can play C6, we can play C6-9, we can play major 7th, of course. It's a great chord. I'm going to play it for you in a little bit. And then there's a couple of chords that really use that raised fourth, and my favorite is probably the major 7 sharp 11. This chord is a major 7th chord, but it also adds the sharp fourth, which is the F sharp. And I'm just gonna play it for you over a C major 7th again, right? Just a very basic chord. I could do it even on just a C major, but let's do the 7th. It gives a bit more color. Okay, this is a C major 7th, and you can hear the sound of the mode. Let's just play it a bit higher. Maybe with a bit of distortion. If I play major, it sounds like this. Lydian. Major. Lydian. It's a beautiful sound. It's very uplifting. I really like the Lydian mode a lot. And you hear the difference. And the good thing about the Lydian mode is that you can fit it pretty much over the same chords as major. All right. Now, one thing that came up, and I'm going to get into it right now, is that once I raise the fourth of C major, I end up with C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. For those of you who know your circle of fifths and your other major scales, it is G major. It is. We're not pretending that it is not. So it is G major. What we don't want is every time we want to play C Lydian to have to think, okay, well, C Lydian, if I want to play Lydian, is the fourth mode. So what major scale has C as the fourth note, work our way down to G, figure out if it's G sharp, G flat, or G natural, then play G major, and then C as the root. It's a lot of work. And it's not worth it. It will work, but it's not worth all the work you have to do, and then the results are going to be pretty bad. So it is important that you see C Lydian as a scale of C with a raised fourth. I know it's the same as G, and the same goes for the chords. The chords that I played before, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, of course they're the same chords as G major. But it doesn't really benefit me to think of it like that. Unless, as I said before, you are starting out and you just want to get into the modes to see what's up. Then, by all means, do it for a day and then learn them properly, okay? So, it is true that all these modes are other major scales. But you know what? The thing is, if you do A minor is also C major. But, you know, so you need to be able to get to A minor, right? What if you want to play, I don't know, D sharp minor? What are you going to do? Think of, okay, wait, D sharp minor, is it the same as, you know, you can't do that. You have to be quick and be able to improvise a chord progression and a melody or whatever it is in the mode you want to play. So my advice is always learn the modes as separate scales, okay? Now, the next mode. If you have any questions, I just wait 5 seconds to see if you guys have any questions about this. Otherwise, I keep going with the Mixolydian mode. I hope the audio has been fixed. I hope you guys are cool with it. I'm still waiting on my webcam, because then I'll be able to patch everything through the audio interface and there will be no more issues. I'll be able to monitor it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going with Mixolydian. Mixolydian again is another major mode. Why major? Because it has a major third, all right, and the perfect fifth. So when we create the Mixolydian mode, we take a major scale. Oh wait, I think I know why you can't hear me properly. Because the microphone is, I have two microphones and I put the wrong one on. How about now? This is embarrassing. I should cut this off out of the YouTube feed. All right, but it's okay. I hope it's better now. I feel dumb, but you know, it's live, so sometimes these things happen. Again, Mixolydian is a major scale with a flat 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. And I know, I'm embarrassed. I am absolutely embarrassed by the microphone thing. Please forgive me. I got up to set up the camera and I didn't put the microphone back on. Anyway, why is it major? Because it has a major third. Why is it special? Because it has a B flat, okay? You hear that? Major, Mixolydian. It's a beautiful sound, delicate. It's a lot more like smooth than major. But the problem of this mode, it's not a problem, but this mode has a relaxed sound when you play it by itself. But the chord that fits this mode is actually pretty strong. And we're gonna get to it in a second. But anyway, the half steps again have shifted with respect to major. We go back to having this F here. So the first half step is the one that kind of wants to work its way back down to E from F. Right? And resolve to E. But the other one, we have changed this very strong resolution to the tonic with this, which can go up, not as strongly, or it can work its way down again to the sixth. It's a strange sound, and it's a beautiful mode, very much used in rock, and we'll get to the why later. And also it has a bit of an ethnic kind of sound. If you play it over a drone, I've used it in a couple of tracks because I really enjoy it. It's very open and I really like the sound. So the main notes here are the third, which says that the mode is major, and the flat 7, which is the sound of the mode. Okay? Now, the B flat, or the flat 7, is a strange interval. It's the interval that creates the dominant chord. So dominant chord is the 7th chord. And this chord pushes very strongly towards the root. So the chords that fit this kind of mode are they're not many, okay? Because first of all the major inspired chords usually have a major 7th. The major 7, the major 9, all these chords have a major 7th. And the other thing is that the dominant chords, because the dominant 7th, the flat 7, is so strong a note, they don't all sound the same, but they have this very strong character. And so there's not a lot of variety. But if we want to harmonize this scale, now the chords will be these. Will be major, minor, then we will go to diminished. Okay, we have sorry, major, minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major. You hear how bright it is? It's kind of royal, right? The progression. And it's interesting, it's an interesting progression, but the chord itself that exemplifies the mode is quite limited. So, of course I could play C major, because it has no seventh, so I can play C major and play the mode. But when I get a bit more specific, this is the main chord, the C7. This is the chord of the Mixolydian mode. And then its variations, which usually, you know, are C7, C9. You can do C13. Sorry, C13, I play G. But, you know, they don't sound too different because that B flat is so strong when put together with the E that everything kind of sounds, and the F especially, that everything sounds very much the same. So it's a great chord, but it's a bit limiting. Let me play it for you over a C seventh. So it's C, E, G, B flat. Okay, let me play it for you. Dominant chord, and here's the mode. So you see, it's kind of sounds a bit incomplete. The reason is that the seventh chord, it's always pushing to go somewhere else. It could go to a few places, but today let's just focus on the main thing. If this is the dominant chord, and it's a C, it wants to go to the 1 basic chord progression, and so the mode itself kind of picks up this kind of character, and it sounds always kind of like it wants to go somewhere, and you have to bring it somewhere. Now what I'm going to do is play the 3 modes, okay, over one chord that fits them all, which is C major. All right, I'm going to play C major, and we're going to compare the 3 modes. So we have C major, C Lydian, and C Mixolydian. And if I improvise a little bit with all of them, I can switch and match. Right, I'm kind of doing it quickly, but I could stretch it out on each scale, and it would be kind of cool, right? I can go from C major. I can stay a little bit on this note, on this scale. And now I bring it up to Lydian. And maybe go down to Mixolydian. And back to C major. See that? It's pretty cool. Now, I wish it was that easy all the time, but the truth is that you barely ever play over one single chord, right? And so here's the problem, and we've seen that before, but if I play just a C major, I can play any of the major modes. Now, you know that if I play major 7th, for example, now the Mixolydian is taken out because it has a flat 7. But even if I just stay with regular chords, see what happens if I just play a C major and a D minor. It's such a basic chord progression, right? What could go wrong? Well, this D minor has an F. That F means that the Lydian mode is out for this chord progression because the Lydian mode has an F sharp. I can still make C major and C Mixolydian work, because between them they have the right notes, because none of these chords has a B in it. So the B flat in the Mixolydian is kind of safe for now. But what if I play 3 chords and I go... Now this G has a B, which means that the Mixolydian is also out. So you see, the modes, that's why it's so important that you know how to harmonize them, because every mode comes with its own chords. And of course, a lot of them, or some of them, are shared, because in the circle of fifths, the major scale is here, the Lydian is here, and the Mixolydian is there. So they do share chords. But you can't just put on a chord progression and think that because it works in C, it will work with Lydian and Mixolydian. It doesn't. Okay, so you have to be careful and be prepared to know what chords you're using. And if you want to mix modes, you have to mix them over the right chords, the ones that allow it. Okay, so that's extremely important, and one of the big points that I see in people who are trying to learn the modes, that's where they have the most trouble. All right, so you have to know the chords. Let me see your questions. What would be the chords for minor? Okay, for minor, they are minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major. This is in C minor. You get confused because it feels as if it's like doing a song and drawing from different keys all the time. Don't worry about me. Continue on, please. All right. Hey, is the microphone better? It wouldn't be a video of mine without the small tech blunder. Yes, I know, but it is getting better. You should see, there's a few videos coming up that I recorded and it look a lot better. So I'm getting there. Jose, I'm getting there. And Tony McAlpin is very Mixolydian. Okay, and basically pick a mode, then create the chords from that mode. And the mic is great, thanks. Okay, great, thank you for your help. Then create the chords from the mode. Yes, exactly. You kind of, I think it's kind of backwards, like pick a mode first. But yes, that is true. Eventually, what you want to do is have all the sound of all the modes and even their chords kind of memorized, you know, have them in your database, and then you can access them. And you can definitely switch from one mode to the other. That's no problem. And you can actually have, that's what we're going to talk about now. You can have chord progression. Well, let's talk about it. You can have chord progressions that are on purpose ambiguous. So on purpose, you can have chord progression that lets you switch and morph between modes, right? For example, you could even have a chord that allows you to go from major to minor, you know, or from major to Phrygian, to extremely out chords, you know, scales between them. But usually when you write a normal song, even if you have a chord that does allow for more modes, usually the chord progression kind of takes care of itself and makes you fit into one mode or the other. That's the thing. And so you have to be aware of that. And now there are circumstances, like for example, if I play a chord progression like this, I'm kind of locked into whatever mode these chords are implying. But if I have very long sections, if I have a very long section, right? Now over these two chords, I might be able to kind of switch because I have enough time to establish a new key or a new mode and develop it a little bit and then move back. So sometimes in one of the Inside the Song videos, that I have a few in the can actually, I think you'll enjoy them. And one of them will be about a song called Upside Up, where all the verse, it's over one single chord. And for about 30 seconds or more, I'm only playing over an E. And so that's kind of interesting because it allows me to do whatever I want, right? But usually chord progressions tend to become very much defined in their sound, okay? So if I play over a very simple chord, I might be able to switch. If I make a chord a bit more defined, like C major 7th, now the number of options that I have diminishes. Now I have C major or C Lydian for today, right? There are other modes, but today these are going to be the two modes that I can use. If I play a C7, I can only play Mixolydian, right? Again, of these three modes that we did today. If we want to write modal progressions, which is progressions that we say, okay, as that is not art, that is art suggested. If I want to play a song in C Lydian, then that's absolutely fine. I can play. Or I can do this. Sorry, did I play? Yeah. These two chords by themselves give me the notes of the Lydian scale. And of course, Lydian will work, and the whole song or the whole section of the song will kind of inherit the sound of the mode. So your song will sound as Lydian, okay? So that's one way to do it, and that's why it's so important that you know the notes and the chords for each of these modes. Let's see, I had a few notes here that I'm not looking at, but I'm going to, just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yes, okay, yeah. That's. I have an interesting thing to tell you. So, what happens when we want to go from one key to another? Let's go. Let's say we have a song in C, and we want to go to G, right? Kind of brightens it up a bit because it's the next step in the circle of fifths. Now, one way to do it is to just do it. But the good thing about the modes is that it can be used to introduce the alteration or the sharp or flat that is part of the new key. So if I want to go from C to G, this is my verse in C major. Now I want to go to G major. I can do that, of course, chord-wise, because the G is a shared chord, but I could even do it with my scale. I could play C major over the first 4 chords, but over the final G, I could kind of slip in an F sharp, because half of my ear is saying, okay, it's still in C major, right, because this G major is part of C major, but the other half of my ear will say, okay, wait, he's putting an F sharp, that belongs to G major. And so when I do the switch and the modulation from C major to G major, my ear will already be accustomed to it, and I can probably hide the modulation, so you get the feel of the lift in key, but you don't get it right in your face, like here, I'm modulating. You know, it's a lot more subtle and maybe more effective, depends what you want to do. So that's one great use of these two modes. From major, you can go down a key to F, which has 1 flat, or you can go up a key to G major. And you can use this note of the mode to introduce the new key, right? Because it is true that G major is C Lydian. So you can kind of play C Lydian as an introduction to the new key, which will be G. All right, so it's a good use. You can try, you know, it's very simple. Do a very simple chord progression. And now go to G major. And try to introduce that F sharp right before you switch. It works, as long as your chord allows it. But we'll get to that more advanced stuff later. And another trick, which you'll find extremely interesting, I think, is the importance of the pentatonic scale when it comes to the modes, okay? And I'm gonna leave it out here, and maybe we'll do more on this, more detail, but I'm gonna assume now, because this masterclass has been for a bit less advanced students, so I'm gonna give you something for those of you who know a lot, and I'm sure there's a lot of you here. If I play a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, we said that we raise the 4th for Lydian and we lower the 7th for Mixolydian, right? So 4 and 7 are the only 2 notes that I mess with. Otherwise, it's the same as a major scale. The pentatonic major scale is created by taking a major scale and removing, you guessed it, the 4th and the 7th. So I take C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I take out the F and the B, and I come up with a C major pentatonic. Now, you might have guessed, right, that if I take out the F and the B to make a major pentatonic, it means that I can go from a major pentatonic to major, but also to Lydian, or to Mixolydian. All these three notes are possible, these three modes are possible if I start from a major pentatonic, because the pentatonic doesn't have a B or an F. And this is an incredible useful thing. I use it all the time, and I really enjoy it. And you can go way deep with this, because these are not the only modes, of course. And you can go a lot deeper, but as an exercise, you can do this. You can start with a pentatonic. Let's put a drone of C major, just a C major chord, no seventh, okay? Now I can play C major, and I can improvise a little bit. Now I can go to the pentatonic. And now, instead of going back to C major, because this C chord allows it, I'm going to go to Lydian. Now I'm going back to the pentatonic. And when I think your ear has reset, I go on to the Mixolydian, okay? Because the pentatonic major is included in all three scales, in the major, in the Lydian, and in the Mixolydian. They're all in, you know, if you take out the 4th and the 7th to make the major pentatonic, then you can kind of fill it up again, but with different 4th and 7th, and make these modes. There's more actually, but these are the three we did today. All right, so I think it's pretty interesting, and you can use it. You can use it a lot, you know, especially over long progressions, because you can kind of switch between them. Now, if I do the same without going to the pentatonic, it's absolutely okay, as we did before. But it's more obvious when I go from C major to Mixolydian and to Lydian. It's, you know, it's obvious that I'm switching. But if I have this intermediate pentatonic, then I can do it a lot smoother, right? It's not better, but it is smoother and more subtle. All right, cool. So I think this is it for today. I think I said everything I wanted to say, and slowly I'll get better at talking to myself in the camera. So, you know, forgive any problems that I might have had, except for the microphone. Yeah, that's unforgivable. Okay. So that makes sense to me, because then your song has the sound you want. Seems okay to me. Okay, great. Then choose a different mode for different song parts. You can do that. Careful with it, because you might lose the thread of your song. But yes, you could do that. And Jose says that, Andre, by request, will you make a masterclass where you select a mode and create a small song? Nothing fancy. Please ignore if it's too much. No, it's not too much. We can do it. I think first we should introduce all the modes, you know, talk about them. Was this interesting to you guys, this thing on the modes? Is it too much, too little? Because, you know, it's hard for me to decide how much to give you. That's why I established the Tuesday video. Every Tuesday there's going to be a video that's not live, and it's actually recorded, and it's less stuff. But as I said, always these live videos, you should just watch them, you know, whenever you want. Watch them a few times, and there's no way for me to tell, aside from those of you who are doing live online lessons with me. I have no way of knowing where you're at. So it might not be the best thing for you today, but having it introduced like this is very useful, because like any masterclass you will do anywhere, the guy talks to a few people, right? It doesn't talk to you exactly. So some things will go over your head, some things will be too easy, but sometimes it just hits on something that you really need, right? You go like, wow, that thing he said, it seems like it was just for me, right? And so if I can hit on a few things for each of you, I think that would be the best thing. And For very specific thing, I think nothing replaces having a one-on-one with a student. But even if you do that, these things can be very useful. And I'm not saying it because I'm doing them, but this kind of stuff. And if possible, with no bullshit, like here's 10 ways to be a better musician. There's one way to be a better musician, which is to practice. But without any of that bullshit, and hopefully without any false information, hopefully, you should be able to just revert to these things, you know, and watch them when you're ready and when you feel like maybe you're more permeable to learning. You know what I mean? Like you feel like it's time. You know, sometimes you feel like it's time to write a song, and sometimes you feel like it's time to learn new things. You feel ready to receive the information. So put them on, watch them a couple of times, and don't even stress about it too much, because just hearing it will get you there. Okay, and if not, when your teacher gets to it, or you yourself, if you're studying by yourself, then you go like, oh wait, this sounds like something we talked about before. All right, so that's my goal with these masterclasses. I don't pretend to replace proper teaching, you know, but it's interesting. And I think if somebody's somewhat accomplished on the guitar and they can do this, it will also give you an idea of a separation between just the academical thing, like going, oh well, I know this and I know that, to actually using things. Because if somebody has a discography, then you can kind of go and see how they have done that, right? They go like, well, he doesn't just talk about it, let's see how he does it, you know. And that I think is a great benefit of me having records, because you can even dislike them deeply and hate them, but you'll know how all these things come together for real life situations. Okay, so that's my little speech for you. Okay, lots of homework, says Indrajit. Yeah, Indrajit, did you get that thing? Did you get it? Let me know. I will have to rewatch this, Jose. Yeah, Alex, thank you very much. Great masterclass. It wouldn't be a masterclass if it's about basics. I know. Sometimes it's hard to tell though what basics are for everybody. This session was very interesting. Great, thanks. What do you use to generate chords right now? That's a good question. I have a little. You won't be able to see it. I have a KeyStep Pro. Great thing, because I have a bunch of synths and drum machines, and this thing lets me control them. This is just a preset on one of my synths. It's the Peak, the Innovation Peak, and it's a great little synth. And I use it, you know, for these masterclasses, just because I can. There's a little button here that says hold, so I can play a chord, and whatever I play, wait, right? Whatever I play keeps playing, and I can use it. It's a great for practice, you know, if you want to practice things. That or a guitar loop, you know, a guitar looper pedal, whatever works best. Yeah. Satriani and Vi have taken over Lydian Mode. Yeah, but you can sneak it in, you know. I've snuck it into a bunch of songs, and you kind of don't even know it's there. But yeah, you have to, you know, if you do it too openly, then it will kind of sound like a song by Joe or Vi as well. Yeah. And The Simpsons. That's right. You got it? Oh, you got it. Great, Indrajit. Well, I'm glad. I hope you like it. Well, everyone, if you have any more questions, as always, I'll hang about for a couple of minutes. And if not, we'll re-adjourn to next week. This Tuesday is going to be a cool video. The series Inside the Song. I take one of my songs and I pick a little topic on it, and I teach you a little something about it. I have like a few already recorded and edited, and they will come out like basically every Tuesday, but sometimes there's a different things on Tuesday just to keep it mixed up. I think you really like them. And yeah, and there's a few that probably one of them might be something you heard before, but otherwise it's kind of cool, like cool explanations of some of the songs. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy them. So, all right, how long have you been going for? About an hour? Thanks for sharing. Hello, Carlos. So it's good to see you guys from all over the world. It's fun. It's fun for me to see that. And please do tell your friends about these, and maybe, you know, tell them about these masterclasses and the videos. Spread the word. You know, the channel has gone like this, but it's still a small channel. I'm hoping to reach more people with this, because I think it could be very useful. Jose says, do you think it's good getting a Parker JP40 and add a piezo later? You know, let me look into that, Jose, because I right now I don't know. I don't know what the JP4 is. I should probably, but as you know, I lock myself up in the studio and I write music all the time. So sometimes I'm behind, even on brands that I'm an artist for. But let me look into it, and you can reach me, you know, here or Facebook or Instagram. You know, just reach me, or my email is very easy. It's andre@andretonelli.com, and reach me there if you want. As soon as I have a second, I'll look into it and help you out if I can. All right. Everybody, you can reach me wherever you want. Do use the comments though, because that helps with YouTube spreading the word for us. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Jose. Yeah. I'll wait for your for whatever info. I'll look it up. I'll look it up, and we'll be in touch. Otherwise, in one of these videos, I'll just tell you. All right. Is there a good way to learn the modes other than memorizing the steps? Yes. Were you here at the beginning of the masterclass? I think you were. Use the formula of raising fourths, lowering sevenths. Watch this. I'm sorry to say that, but watch this again and focus on that raise fourth and the flat seven. And maybe next week, if you guys enjoy this, I'll make one on the minor modes. And starting from the mother mode, which is the minor, you can raise and lower certain notes to create the other modes, the Dorian and the Phrygian. And we'll include the Locrian as minor. And that's the best way. So start from a major scale and modify it to get the other one. Okay, is it you didn't get the first part? I hope it wasn't because of the mic. Man, I hope it's still intelligible. Okay, great. Yeah, try that. And I will leave it up, the video. I'm just scared that the first half you couldn't hear anything. All right, cool. Well, everybody, thanks a lot. And for those of you who are watching later, if you got this far, it's a long video, so thank you very much. And as always, please do subscribe, like, and all the good stuff. Use the comments. The mic was good, great. And please do spread the word if you can. And thanks again for your support, everybody who made donations. And you don't have to do that. I'm more than happy to just teach you stuff that I know, and you can take it forward and to higher heights than whatever I'd be able to do. And hopefully one day you'll send me your CD, all right? Before you go, try to look about broadcaster software. No, I have it. I have OBS. But I'm missing a few things. As soon as I have that, I already have it set up, and I can add little notes for you. I'll do that. But the normal videos, they already look a lot better, and these live things will get better very soon. All right, just waiting for more gear. As always, right? We're musicians, so you just need more gear. All right, guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.